Yeah. So we are Alex, Steve, and Taranga, and we are going for our just a little chat about our FPL teams. So, Alex, do you want to go on with your FPL team first? Maybe start off with Game Week 1,
Yeah.
and what was your logic or rationale to selecting the team, and your thoughts on how your Game Weeks 1 and 2 have gone, and what you're thinking moving ahead.
Yeah. So in goal, I went for Sanchez. I was torn between Sanchez and Sells for most of the summer, but I went for Sanchez because I think he's a good price. 5 million. I think I think he's one of those players who 5.5 million may have felt like too much, but also 5 million feels like a bargain for a Chelsea goalkeeper. So yeah, went for him, and then I ended up going for bench boost Game Week 1. So rather than getting Dubravka, who was in my draft for a lot of the summer, I went for Verbruggen because he had a good first fixture, um, and it was Fulham at home. Um, Sadly, they conceded late on, so it didn't quite work out. But I thought the rationale was quite strong on that one.
Hmm.
I've just got to be careful now because obviously I've gone for a 4.5 goalkeeper as my second keeper, so I'm aware there might be less funds kind of in my team. Then I've got I went for two Tottenham defenders. I think most people went for one, but I felt really good about Frank coming to Tottenham. I think he's a very good manager. So I wanted to double up, and a Burnley at home thought was a great fixture. So I went for Porro. Um, Porro, you know, he's with Madison injured, he's been taking set pieces. He's very attacking, and I think Tottenham will have quite a strong defence this season. Van der Ven, very cheap, 4.5. So I felt like he was too good to resist.
He's a
Even I,
bargain, really. I think he's in most teams. Like he's definitely
yeah,
in my team. Like I think
yeah.
Van der Ven is an
I
absolute
think
gem
they've
this season.
underpriced him, especially with obviously when they did it. I don't know if they knew Frank was manager, but yeah, I think if Tottenham continue to look strong, like I think Van der Ven's going to be a bargain of the year, really, because I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of Tottenham players. I didn't go for Kudos actually. I haven't got to my midfield just yet, but I mean, Kudos looks like quite a good deal. 6.5. Richarlison, I mean, I think we're going to talk about him. He's an interesting one because obviously I had Solanke actually for most of the summer, but obviously he got that injury in pre-season, and then he ended up kind of not playing the Super League, the Super Cup. So that made me think, oh, I can't risk going for Solanke. But I've been surprised that Richarlison's kind of taken that number 9 space, really. So yeah, I'll just proceed with my defence. So we've got Juice, though. I have to be honest, I was very swayed by the Sunderland game. Sadly, he didn't deliver, but he was very close. There was a clearance off the line, actually. Um, and then I went for Murillo um, with the new defensive contribution rule. I thought he would be a really good asset because he did
Yeah.
really well here when he looked back on if they'd added defensive contributions. And then we don't talk about this one, but Consa. So
I
4.5.
did that same issue. I was going through cons as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know he's one of those players who was popular, but I think where I bench boosted, it was even worse because some people just benched him against Newcastle.
Hmm.
Um, what was really interesting, and I didn't know, was the fact that he managed to still get a decent enough points total, even despite getting sent off. And I didn't realise that was a thing. So when he got sent off, I thought, oh, that's it. And I was thinking -1. But what I didn't realise is because he'd played plus 60 minutes, if Villa kept keeping that clean sheet, um, that he would still get the clean sheet points, which they did in the end. So it was 3 points opposed to -1 if they conceded. So that was bittersweet, really. But it could
So
have
I
been.
think just regarding the Konsa point, I feel that the rules are such that even if Villa would have conceded a goal after Konsa left, Konsa would have probably earned the clean sheet points because he played for 68 minutes, and Villa did not concede a goal when he played.
Yeah,
So
so
I
you'd
think he
think,
would have still earned those clean sheet points, even if Villa would have conceded goals after him being sent off.
yeah, you'd think that, but no. If the rules don't necessarily make sense, in the same way that when a player gets sent off, for example, I think Carl Jenkinson did it for Arsenal when they lost 8-2 against Man United. You still get those minuses. You still get the minuses, um, and it's the same with concert. It's almost like a punishment
Right.
for getting sent off. You still get the minuses. Um,
Because I had this confusion because of the fact that when I see certain players getting subbed off in the, say, 65th minute or something, while keeping a clean sheet, I've
yeah,
seen them still get the clean sheet points, even though the team is conceding
yeah,
a
Yeah,
goal after
it's
that.
locked. It's locked. If they subbed off, it's locked at that point. So
yeah.
Okay.
if
Different
it's
got
yeah,
sent off. Yeah,
I don't know if
So
it's sent off though. I assume it's the same as that because technically they are subbed off, but
yeah,
oh no,
not
this is what
really.
I'm saying, Steve. It's a rule. It's not like subbed off. So in the rule book, he would still be getting minuses.
mm,
Okay, it's
Like
interesting to
I
know
said,
that.
like when Carl, yeah, happened to Carl Jenkinson, and there's been a few other cases where it can result in a horrific score for defenders. I think
yeah,
same thing happened with Bednarek. I mean, Southampton have had a couple
all right.
bad losses, and in both
9
situations,
0.
their defenders have ended up like who've got sent off. Like Bednarek got sent off, and then he ended up on like a ridiculously like -9, -8 because he was still getting the punishment for goals
Yeah,
conceded.
yeah. I do
Um,
remember that. Yeah.
yeah, and then so midfield, Salah. I captained Salah against Bournemouth. Not everyone likes captaining their
Safe
players
pair. It's a
against,
safe pair of
but
hands. Like, God, Captain
but I
Salah.
I, I had to do it. I try not to let Legions getting away really. So even though I'm a Bournemouth fan, I did captain Salah, and he left it late, but he ultimately delivered as he always does. Then I went for Verts, Rationale, um, good price, and it's a very good Liverpool team. I mean, and the Bournemouth at home fixture looked nice. Bournemouth didn't look in great defensive condition, um, so I went quite short term with some of my thinking. I'm gonna be honest, but sometimes you don't want to overthink and think too long term, and then you end up wildcarding early anyway. Then I went for Rangers, which was one of my better picks. He it was pre-season that kind of sealed it for me. He looked really good, and he seemed to be getting some really attacking positions. So I thought, it was well worth 5.5, even if he was a slight rotation risk. Morgan Rogers, he wasn't a player that was always in my draft. I mean, he was an injury risk. So we looked at it, and in the end, he was confirmed to play. And I feel I've got quite a few good fixtures early on, but the problem is some of those are in a few weeks. Um, and but I was hoping Newcastle at home would be a good fixture for him. So he was on my bench boost. Um, Sadly, it didn't work out. But with Rodgers,
I'm not convinced by Villa, at the moment.
no,
They're not in good form, and because I had Rodgers as well, because I was on the same boat as you. I was trying to figure out if he was going to play because he was injured in pre-season.
yeah, mm,
I ended up putting him in, but I'm actually thinking Villa's not really the team to target at the moment based on form.
yeah. And it's like the Newcastle game. Like last year, they played the same fixture at Villa Park, and they battered Newcastle. They've done really well, and that was in my thinking. I thought it might be a repeat, but Villa, um, you know, they don't seem as strong without Asensio and Rashford. Now those players have gone back to their parent clubs. Don't seem as strong attacking wise. There seems to be a bit of a lack of creativity at the moment. Then I've got Dewsbury Hall as another cheap midfielder. The Leeds fixture was tempting, and also I thought there'd be a fair share of opportunities that he might play in the number 10 role. As Everton keep signing more players, there's some uncertainty with that. He's also on set pieces. And then Bowen, I
Brave.
thought he was going to do really well against Sunderland, and it didn't work out. He had a chance very early on, and then the rest was history. Sunderland looked quite decent in that game. And Watkins, you know, I like their fixture, and I think Emery's a really good manager, and I thought Aston Villa were a good team, and I know you don't become a bad team overnight, but I do think they may be a little bit short on maybe one or two kind of attacking players to make players like Watkins better at the moment. Apparently today he was very much starved of service, so it'd be interesting how he progresses a pick, because he's one of the players I'm not sure about at the moment. I'd like to keep him, but Ekitike looks very tempting at the moment, I have to say.
He's Ekitike, like from that first game week, as a Liverpool fan, he was absolute quality in that game before we got subbed off. I think he's going to have a big season for a debut season. Obviously, it depends. Obviously, the Isak situation is extremely interesting. Because if Isak does come in, it'd be interesting to see where Ekitike plays and how many minutes he gets from that point. So it'd be very interesting on that. But yeah, at the moment, if we don't get Isak in, I think Ekitike is definitely one that I'll be looking to get in ASAP.
That Burnley fixture, that's like such in my mind, like game week 4, Burnley. Like that's part of the reason I didn't get rid of Ertz this week, because I just need to make sure that whatever happens, I don't leave myself, short on Liverpool players in that game. I think, quite frankly, I think that could be a triple captain opportunity for a Liverpool player in that game. I mean, Burnley at home. Is there a better fixture?
West Ham at the moment.
yeah.
Maybe even Wolves.
Things change so much today, but at the moment, I mean, I think West Ham, Burnley are definitely two to target, and then it's trying to work out the other teams. I got it wrong this week. I mean, we'll get to that later. One of the teams I targeted did okay, so it's hard because you sometimes try to target teams and you realise actually maybe I shouldn't be targeting them. So it's that period of the season where we're just trying to work out who to target, and obviously the newly promoted teams are the ones. And finally, Chris Wood, really happy about how that worked out. He hadn't had a good pre-season. Nottingham Forest hadn't scored much, so that put some people off. But I just felt like, his fixtures are quite good in general, and he was a player who I think was a big part of why I didn't do well last year. So he's still on penalties as well. So I wanted to give him a chance this season. So far, it's working out. Okay, so that was my team.
It was going back Chris Wood, mate. That's to be honest, I had the same position where I kind of refused to bring him in last year, and it really hurt me in the back end of the season because I was doing so well until we started banging them in every week, multiple goals. And I always thought I was too late to the party, but I should have just got him in a lot sooner because he carried on that scoring spree. He did. He was quality last season.
Yeah, no, I think he's a great player, and he's one of those players who always overachieves his XG, which I think can cause him to be overlooked. But he's just so clinical, and Forest aren't always a team who score loads of goals as well. So I can see, why he's not always the most appetizing pick, but he just ticks along. He's so reliable, and he's got some nice fixtures. He's got West Ham next week as well, game week 3. So that could be interesting. Like you said, Steve, that could be one to target. I mean, wouldn't even surprise me if I ended up captaining him. But we'll get to him in a bit. Who wants? Shall we go alphabetical order?
Yeah, be me, I guess. Or So to be honest, I probably had the worst start since I started playing FPL. I had a bit of a shocker game week 1. I was debating the Kelleher versus Verbruggen from a
Yeah.
goalkeeper early on.
Mm.
In the end, I went for Verbruggen. Standard 2-pointer. I think Kelleher didn't do much better. And I've got Dubravka on the bench, and he had a 2-pointer as well. But I think everyone's got Dubravka. If you're not going for a bench boost early on, it was a no-brainer. 4 million playing goalkeeper. It's the way to go. For defense, I go 3-5-2. That's generally how I always play, and I usually go quite light in defense. So normally I'd go 4.5s across the board with maybe one premium. In this instance, I went for Frimpong, which was a big mistake. I saw Frimpong in pre-season. He was extremely attacking, more pretty much a right winger at some points. Him and Salah were at the same level at loads of points during the games. And I knew he was going to start because Connor Bradley was injured at the start of the season. So for me, it was a no-brainer. Unfortunately, he got subbed off before the 60-minute mark. I think it was 59 minutes, which is incredibly annoying. And he's now got an injury, which will take him, I think, until the end of after the international break. So that's already a substitution I've had to make, transfer out. Then also had Van der Ven, which I'm very happy about. I think he's going to be a mainstay, as we discussed earlier. On the bench of defence, I've got Konza, which again is an issue. That's why my squad have had to be revamped quite rapidly. I've had to wildcard this week, which I've never done this early. That's how bad it's gotten. I'll discuss my reasoning about that later on. And my last defender was Richards at Crystal Palace, because I thought Gahey potentially going to move to Liverpool. So I thought Richards would be, he's a guaranteed starter, and Palace are relatively good in defence, and he's 4.5, so it was a good way to do it. Usually I switch out 4.5s, depends on the fixtures. That's generally how I play defenders. I don't really put that much more depth into it. In terms of midfield, I went Rodgers, which last year I think one of my best picks was getting Rodgers from Gameweek 1, as well as Salah. To be honest, not many people went Salah Gameweek 1 last year. That really helped me out in the first half of the year. Villa a bit went great. I still rate Rodgers highly. I'll probably bring him in later on, but I think he's going to be a transfer out as well for me. On my wild card, I had Palmer, which was a kind of a risk, kind of not, because I thought he didn't have a very good back end of last season. However, I thought obviously the Club World Cup he played quite well. I thought he would start his form back from early on this last year. Didn't really turn out that well, and from this week as well, he's now didn't even start game week 2 due to an injury. I don't know what the status of that. Does anyone know what Maresca said about that? Or
I think it was called precautionary.
Yeah.
But sometimes they say that and it still ends up player not playing. But
Yeah. So I watched his post-match interview last night after the game, and what he said was Cole Palmer did feel a niggle throughout the week, and they always had doubts on whether he would play. So after the final warm-up, when he actually mentioned that he was not 100%, they did not feel like risking him because obviously West Ham, so it was not like the most crucial or the most difficult game where you'd have to play Cole Palmer. But yeah, he did not clearly mention anything about the next week. But I think I'd take that as a 50-50, and I'd take that as enough of a risk not to have Cole Palmer in my team for next.
yeah,
I get the point about because even with precautionary, it seems like they're managing him. So and it's a
Yeah,
problem that seems to be going on for a little bit.
yeah. Then I feel it's like too expensive to be a 50-50. So he's like one of those premium players that you want to start and just guarantee points for your team. So yeah,
Absolutely. I think for also I'm trying to avoid any price drops at the moment because obviously at the start of the
Yeah.
game it's extremely volatile.
yeah,
Rangers was already one which I kind of missed out on because 5.5 is a bit of a bargain.
yeah,
But now he's 5.6, I can't get him into my team because
yeah,
mine's maxed out. Which goes on to my next point. I actually had Declan Rice,
yeah,
who I actually think Declan Rice is going to be a good player for FPL
Yeah.
this year because he is on
That's true.
corners. He's on corners, so he's going to get a lot of assists because Arsenal they're set piece FC, as everyone
yeah.
knows.
True
Corners.
Uh,
already. Yeah.
yeah, he got an assist today as well from
Yeah.
the corner.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to get some goals as well. I think
Mm.
he's going to be for 6.5. I think he's going to be good value there. The same as Kudus. I think Kudus is going to be good value. Didn't get Kudus because I was trying to avoid it because everyone seemed to be going for Kudus, and I was trying to be a little bit differential with Rice.
Yeah.
Um, and then my last two was Verts because again, I saw him in pre-season. He was an absolute. He is extremely good footballer. He's going to get a lot of assists and he's going to get goals this season. And 8.5 seemed good value
Yeah.
for what he brought. It did turn out that way in terms of game week 1 with points, but a lot of people took him out game week 1, and I feel you need to keep him in if you have him already because he will get points. And then obviously I've got Mo. You got to have Mo Salah in your team, captain. Or never gone wrong. I've had him in every single season, and he's always been my top scorer. Like it's just one of them goats, isn't it?
Yeah. And he usually has a really nice game week 1 every single year.
He
Even
scores every game. He scores every game week 1.
yeah, even this game week 1, he'd not scored for almost the entire game, and he ended up bagging the goal in the very end. So he's still, I think he's yet to blank in game week 1.
Yeah.
Mm.
Didn't play that well either, to be honest. He was pretty. He's missing most of the game.
Yeah, but it's game week 1, so
And there is an element. There is an element I would say with Salah. With Verts, like as a cam, and with Ekatike, you just wonder, is the team geared more towards other players this year to some degree? So, because I think they will play more centrally with Verts in the team now, so it will be interesting.
yeah,
Salah there always seems some kind of doubt about Salah every season. He always proves everyone wrong. So it might just be that. But I do think there's a possibility that he might be less central to the team to some degree, but he'll still tick along, definitely.
Absolutely, he's going to get you points. And my forward line, I've got. I went for Strand Larson. Now, I thought Wolves would play a little bit better. I feel Strand Larson, it wasn't the play. Again, this is another reason why I wildcarded so early. I kind of regret doing Strand Larson, but there were the forward options. I was trying to avoid João Pedro because he was so highly owned, and I was trying to again bet against it because even last year I didn't think João Pedro would score that much. Even with a better Chelsea side, I still don't think he's going to score as much as what people think he's going to.
Mhm.
Especially with Chelsea, they've got a very deep squad. A kind of bit like Man City, where I don't put Man City players in apart from if I can afford him, Haaland, because it's pep roulette. It's going to be Maresca roulette.
Mm.
But I don't know if
Mm.
João Pedro is going to start every season. I'd rather have someone who's going to play every single game without fail, without having that pep roulette sort of style. And my final one is Gyökeres. I took a punt on Gyökeres. Game week 1, it definitely didn't pan out. Game week 2 worked out very well.
Okay, you did not frame out then.
Yeah, I didn't throw him out. I thought like I needed to get an Arsenal attacker in. I mean, I got Rice, but he's kind of one of my more cheaper midfielders. Going to get, and it's I feel Gyökeres is going to get goals this season. Kind of like Ekatike, but he's going to start every game. I mean, Havertz is injured at the moment. there was a bit of a discussion around, oh, Havertz could start the season while Gyökeres beds in, but at the moment they've got no choice. Arteta has to play Gyökeres.
Yeah,
As these
exactly.
Arsenal getting really big injury crisis, like Saka got injured today, and Odegaard got injured today as
Yeah.
well.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and that could affect creativity for Gyökeres because they've got some tricky games, and that was one of the reasons I haven't got any Arsenal players yet. It's just the fixtures aren't the kindest, and they're not great. They've got Liverpool next, and that's going to be a tough game, especially
It's
without
Manfield. Yeah.
an Odegaard. And
I
yeah,
think Eze is going to start that game.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I mean, that's why you sign someone like Eze.
I think left winger. Is he left winger? Or is he more
Well,
of a play against the forward line?
He played on the left. Yeah, I think so.
yeah.
They've got a lot of left. They've got a lot
But
of left
he
wingers.
also
Arsenal.
Cam, he could play Cam because if Odegaard's injured, he could just play Cam.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Eze would do very well there. I still laugh at how they hijacked
Yeah.
Spurs' deal for that. That is
Oh,
pretty hilarious
Yeah,
from an outside perspective as well. And I know a Spurs fan who I'm seeing tomorrow who is going to be fuming. I can't wait to
Yeah.
have a chat with him about it. And yeah, my bench fodder really. I've got that Marc Gui. I think that's how you pronounce it because he's going to play at some point for Sunderland, and he's 4.5. He's an enabler, really. I'm never going to play he's like last on my bench. He's never going to play realistically, unless Sunderland like become a surprise, which I think they're going to do quite well this season, especially with West Ham and Wolves. There might be a bit more of a relegation battle compared to other seasons, but he's not going to play, and it's just an enabler for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my Gameweek 1 team, which I'm now regretting.
Yeah. What I will say is you've been very unlucky with Frimpong and Palmer. I mean,
injuries.
like Palmer as well. I mean, it's one thing when your player like pulls up in the warm up, but it's another thing when the team goes on to score five goals. I mean, it's painful. But also Frimpong, I mean, it's unlucky. It's really unlucky that.
Yeah. One player I did miss up? I had Nico Williams. I wanted a Forest defender, but the thing is, Forest defenders are quite expensive compared to other teams. I know they're a very good defensive team, and Nico Williams seemed to be the best value for money there, so that's why I went for him. Like Murillo is a good option, but I think he was 0.5 more.
Yeah.
So that's why I went for Nico Williams. But I think I'm going to switch to 4.5s across the board instead of paying over 5 for defenders. That's just my planning going forward, though.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to look at your wildcard draft at some point, whether it's tonight or in the future. It would be interesting to have a look at it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be because especially because I'm trying to you got to play it tactically with wildcard where, especially I'm doing it this early on. It's a massive risk. It's getting rid of this token so early on. I'm going to try and catch any price rises and price anything like that. That's why I'm kept like Gyökeres in it, for example, because there's going to be loads of weak knees, like people going and trying and putting in like whoever scored this week, they'll be putting it in. So it's trying to catch that out.
Yeah, I think one advantage of this season as well is we've got obviously double the chips as well. So at least you've got an extra free hit as well. So you might be able to place that in strategically as well if you're panicking, like that you kind of use your wild card early and there's kind of like 1 week where you're kind of you feel a bit short. At least there's an extra free hit you can use as well.
Yeah, save transfers up. I think that's giving them an extra player,
exactly.
save them up. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're happy with your wild card, and hopefully you are, we also get 5 extra transfers as well this year because of the African Cup of Nations, which is an interest. I saw online a lot of people didn't feel that was necessary, but it's interesting. It certainly gives you a lot to. I would say there's a lot of like decisions to make this year, because yeah, double the chips mean there's kind of more stuff to think about, and also more transfers as well.
Yeah, and no assistant manager either, which I don't think went down too well.
No,
No.
it really didn't. I was speaking about this chip earlier to my friend actually, and I, 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 I don't think it deserved the hate it got, but at the same time, I think the way it was executed wasn't the best. I think I think they could have maybe made it a lot better. They made it quite complicated, and that didn't help. And also, I felt like it would have been better if you could have a manager in addition to the three players. But there was a part of the chip that I thought was quite different and innovative. And it was interesting. It made you think about the table bonus. I quite like the table bonus element. So you got
Yeah.
like extra points depending on if the team was 5 places lower or more. And
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good
I
tip.
like the innovation of it, but yeah, I just don't think they quite executed it well.
Cool. I guess Taranga, do you want to
Yeah,
go for your team?
yeah, I can go ahead with my team. So for game week 1, I was kind of facing a dilemma on whether to go for more of the premium players or to have like a more balanced team, which I'm pretty sure almost everyone faced that dilemma at some point. And the thought I came up with was that if I go for premium players in the beginning, it's probably better because if I go on with a more balanced team, it would be difficult to bring in, say, someone like a Salah or a Holland later along the line. So I went for a team that had, I would say, 4 premium players: Salah, Holland, Wirtz, as well as Palmer for game
Mm.
week 1. So
Wow.
I really loaded up on the premium players.
Yep.
And I also thought that, all right, I have around 8 spots because there are 15 players, I think, for FPL. So I still have 8 spots that I need to fill up. And that's when I started looking out for, the players that were kind of underrated or underpriced. So now if I, walk through my team, per position. For goalkeepers, I went for Raya and Dubravka
Mm.
because I wanted to have an Arsenal defender. At the same time, I was not sure about injury, rotations, and stuff like that. I thought that Raya would be nailed as an Arsenal defender, and he's coming out for 5.5, which is really expensive for a goalkeeper. But then I thought if I have another starting goalkeeper for 4, which Dubravka is, then I can get my goalkeeping positions covered for 9.5, which should be decent.
Mm. Yeah.
And to be fair, this decision has paid off so far because Raya has kept 2 clean sheets in 2 games. So I'm
Mm.
happy with my goalkeeping pick. Alternatively, I would have kept someone like a Gabriel or a Saliba, which is what I was contemplating for a long enough time. I did not go for that. In terms of my defense, I think both of you did try to have really strong defenders, really strong nailed on defenders, at least one premium defender. I kind of felt like, usually my experience playing FPL is towards the beginning of the season. It's really hard to say which team has a strong defensive base or foundation, because with change of seasons, forms change, managers change, strategies change. So I thought that I would not double up on any team's defense, but I would have at least one reasonably priced defender from some of the more reliable defensive teams. So I did go for one Chelsea defender. I was a bit unlucky because I went for Tosin because he had started the last practice game that Chelsea had played, but he did not start the first league game. He started the second one, but then the first one was the one in which they kept a clean sheet, and I did not get any points for that.
Mm.
I think they played Achiampong, if that was his name, and he ended up getting 9 points. So perhaps Tosin would have gotten those 9 points had he not had a little niggle. So I think
Yeah.
it could be a Chelsea pattern where they're not risking players if they feel like there's a minor injury, but then they are
Mm.
playing them in the next game. Because I was following the news in terms of just thinking about my transfers, and Tosin only rejoined training on I think Wednesday or Thursday for the game on like Friday. So I think he had one or two practice sessions, but he did not train in the first half of the week. So he still started the game, and I think he played the entire duration of the game. So he was there. Obviously, many FPL players went for a Spurs defender. I went for Van de Ven because, again, I thought he was uh, quite reasonably priced. And when he's fit, I think he's a really good defender. People usually keep him for like clean sheet points and things like that. But I do feel that he also has an attacking threat up front. He's really fast. I think he's the fastest player footballer in the Premier League, if I'm not wrong, at least in terms of the recorded speeds. Um, I was there at Old Trafford last year, and he made an amazing assist. I think he ran through the entire length of the pitch. So people kind of do not appreciate that enough, but I feel that he has a very good attacking outlet to him. And I thought that at 4.5, he could be like an underrated pick and value for money.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I did go for Marc Gehi. So during the time when I selected Marc Gehi, he was not like meant to leave for Liverpool. And then in the middle, there were some Liverpool rumors. And then again, uh, Crystal Palace are insisting that they don't want to let him go, which again, I think kind of explains the thing he did with Glasner. I think he did not want to shake his hands after the full time whistle after the
Mm.
first game.
Yeah.
So he kind of snubbed him, and that was there. So I did keep Gay because, irrespective of whichever team he goes to, he's reliable and he'll get minutes. And I thought if he's there in the Premier League, he's like a reliable centre back for 4.5. I should definitely go for him because he's pretty nailed on, irrespective of which team he plays for. And even if he moves to Liverpool, considering the form Konate is at the moment, I think Gay will definitely start over him, and he'll be like a good partner for Van Dijk. Although I do feel that move is still unlikely. I think they went for another young defender, Leone from Serie.
Yeah, the thing is though, that's an additional because we sold Kwanzaa, so he's replaced for Kwanzaa as our young
Yeah,
central
it
defender.
was it
But the
was
thing is, that
Leverkusen, I think. Yeah,
I don't think Gay it's difficult because Kanate is our number one. Well, obviously Van Dijk is always going to play every game, but I don't know if Gahey comes. I think it'll be a rotation risk.
right.
I mean, if he does, if he is the partner for Van Dijk at 4.5 for Liverpool defender, everyone's going to have Gahey.
Yeah,
Like if he does go, he's in the last year of his contract, I believe, which is why
yeah,
they're looking to sell now for some money before he goes on a free. That's the only reason I went for Richards instead.
yeah.
But Gahey's always a good pick.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think, like you say though, Steve, I think he could be a rotation risk, and I think the main reason you might not want Gahey in your team, even if he did go to Liverpool, would be you only get 3 Liverpool players. But then again, if you've already got Gahey, you'd have four. You'd have four. But then I think there's a rule in FPL where it forces you to get rid of a Liverpool player in your next
Yeah,
transfer. But I do, yeah, I do think, yeah, 4.5. I mean, even at Palace, I think 4.5 was quite generous. So yeah, it's definitely be very tempting. It's just, would it become a little bit of would it become kind of frustrating? Would you try
Yeah.
to get like because you're going to have Salah. You're always pretty much always going to have Salah. So that's one Liverpool slot, and then if you want it, you might want to go all out and get Ekitike and Verts as well, or you might want like Van Dijk if it, because he is a beast. Or I mean, when Frimpong comes back, you might want him. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's food for thought in the future though, definitely.
So yeah, I went for Konsa, and obviously he got a red card and he's suspended till the 31st August, which might mean he's playing the next game week, and I think he will start in that case. Should be fine because game week 2 is the only game week where I would have lost out on Konsa, and considering the fact that Villa got beaten 2-0, I think
Mm.
it wouldn't have made much of a difference if I had Konsa in my team. Would have just gotten like 1 point or something. The fourth defender I went for was Maxime Esteve for Burnley because he had a good preseason and there was quite a buzz around him. And also, if I'm keeping four premiums, my strategy was to find out um, just defenders who would come at a budget and would also have the potential to offer like really decent points. So that's my defense. For my midfield, I already mentioned three of them because they're the premium picks. Salah, obviously, game week one goat. He's always getting massive returns on game week one. So he was a no-brainer for me. Although a lot of people did go for Holland just because of the fact that he faced Wolves in the beginning, and also like Wolves were a significantly weaker team. But I thought like you simply cannot ignore Salah, and also irrespective of it being an easy or difficult fixture, I really don't think that affects Salah because he even like gives massive returns against some of the so-called difficult teams or fixtures. So I think for certain players you need to just respect them and ignore the fixture aspect. I definitely think Salah is one of those, and I also think Holland is one of those as well. If City score, invariably it will be Holland scoring at some point. I went for Words as well because he came for 8.5 and he has like a great creative potential. So, I just looked at it as Liverpool's version of Kevin De Bruyne or Liverpool's answer to KDB. So, just you would expect a similar type of contribution from him. To be fair, if you watch the game, you'd feel that he did have a decent enough game. At least he made a decent start. But I think he was subbed off, unless I'm mistaken. It's almost game week
Yeah,
three. Yeah.
yeah, he was. Yeah,
So
He's
he
first
was,
minute, I think.
yeah, he was
Okay,
subbed off. And yeah, so, for me, the decision was whether to go for Words or whether to go for like a 6.5 or a 7 attacker and to have like two strikers. I thought perhaps I can go for Words, and yeah, but then it backfired. I got 2 points, but then fortunately Salah scored towards the end, and since I captained him, I ended up getting 16 points. I played Palmer as well, no returns, nil nil, and ended up getting 3 points. Uh, the good thing I did was to select Tejani Reinders, and that
Mm.
was a last minute decision for me because before Reinders, I had Granit Xhaka in that position.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
Oh,
I,
okay. That's Maverick.
yeah. And I thought that if you keep Granit Xhaka long enough, he might get defensive contributions, he might get assists, and he also has a really good long ranger. So at that price point, he seemed quite attractive to me. But then, just the fact being Man City and Reinders, if you watched AC Milan, I didn't watch much of Serie A, but did see him in the Champions League, and he was quite prolific in the Champions League. So I thought like Reinders, he's not really expensive, so I wouldn't regret having him in game week one. So I did, and it was a good return in game week one. And I really don't mind him blanking in game week two because even if he, returns in two or three out of a set of 5 game weeks, that's like really good value for money for a player at his price point.
Mm.
So I would be happy just sticking to Reinders, and I think his value will just keep on increasing as we progress along through the season. I wouldn't be surprised if by halfway point he's almost like 5.9 or 6 or something like that.
Yeah, I think he could be this year's Rodgers potentially, but I'm
Yeah,
also wary
Yeah.
because you've got players on the City bench which are coming back from injury.
yeah,
You may take some of his minutes.
right.
Obviously, you've
Although I
got like,
think,
players like Rodri. Rodri is
yeah,
on the bench at the moment, so he will
yeah,
Mm.
come in at some point.
but I think Rodri is seen more of as a defensive shield,
Yeah,
like the next line to defense, and Reinders is more of a creative threat. So the way I see it, I think Reinders has been brought to be Kevin De Bruyne's successor, while in place of Rodri, I think they were starting with Nico Gonzalez, who was the other player they bought
Mm.
in last January's transfer, just as a kind of like a panic makeshift buy, because obviously it's Man City and they have a lot of money, and whenever there are players in certain positions that they need to reinforce, they do that without wasting any time, which is why I think once their attack was not prolific, they brought in one of the most prolific attackers from the Bundesliga, which in Omar Marmoush, and he was at a good price point, and the
Mm.
Pep Roulette was on, and he did not even end up starting that game. They went for Oscar Bob, and interestingly, he started the game today as well. They also went for Ryan Cherky. He started that game. I'm not sure about Phil Foden, but I think it's a case of him returning from an injury, so they're not trying to rush him in immediately. But I do understand that there will be a point when Foden starts, and that might mean that uh, probably Oscar Bob would be benched, or it might be Cherky, but I think it would be Oscar Bob, potentially back to the bench. But with
Yeah.
Pep Roulette, you never know. I think you need to look at it
Yeah.
not an individual game, but you need to look at a series of 3 or 4 games and just try and see who are the players who are like getting a majority of the share of the minutes. I think in terms of
Yeah.
the,
I feel like if Marmoush was playing for any other team,
yeah,
he'd be in my team because he's a great player.
yeah,
I just can't rely that he's going to start every game. Like I think he'll make a lot of sub appearances as we
yeah.
get into the season. So that's the only
Mm.
reason why the pep roulette is a thing. That's why I just avoided all Man City midfielders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
obviously, yeah,
mm.
yeah. So sorry about that. Yeah, obviously, as I was quite budget constrained, I had to go for another 5 or 5.5 midfielder, and just looking at Aston Villa, I thought Rashford and Asensio are no longer in the team, which might mean even Leon Bailey. I think he's no longer with Aston Villa, so it might mean extra minutes for some of the other Aston Villa attackers. And just keeping that in mind, I kept Doniel Malen in my team. I
Oh,
hope
interesting.
I
Interesting.
hope that he would start, but he did not. He did not start last week. He did not start this week either. So yeah, for game week 1, I also kept Doniel Malen. While speaking of the forward line, obviously I kept Holland. But the other alternative would have been to have kept Joao Pedro and maybe someone like a Welbeck. That's what I was considering before going for Holland. So I think for game week 1, um, keeping Holland really paid off, because I would not have had the money to have afforded Chris Wood. So it could have been like, if it had been Joao Pedro, I would have had to go for a striker who would cost 6.5 or under. And I think Welbeck was a decent shout at that price point, just considering him being the main man at this point in time, and just being reliable. He's so usually when he plays, he does score. There are also quite a few other picks that I was considering for a while. Actually, I did have Isak till I think the
Mm.
last 5 days of my draft, and then the moment when the entire Liverpool Newcastle situation panned out, I thought that there's no way I'm going to keep Isak, and that's
Yeah.
when I shifted more towards Holland, because if I would have had Isak in my team, I still feel it would have been more balanced had he played. But obviously, uh, things are as they are at the minute. Um, I was really inclined to go for Richarlison, but I was not sure about his minutes or even like the Solanke situation. So I did not just want to pick a player for 1 game week and or even 2, and then
Mm.
once Solanke would return, just it being a doubt over who would be having the minutes. Because obviously, if you are keeping Solanke in your team, if you're you know verbally assuring him in his contract that he is the number one, he's the main guy, uh, he would want minutes, and you would want your main striker to get minutes in the bag and to get up and running, which is something we saw with Gyökeres today. Because obviously, after the first game, where according to the internet memes, he had more hair flicks than ball touches. He did score 2 goals, and I think after the second goal, after the penalty, he went up to the corner flag, looked at the camera, and like flicked his hair thrice just to show people, like, just mock them back. I'm not sure if the commentators caught that, but obviously, just following X or Twitter all week.
Everyone else did. Everyone else did.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, like, literally, like, because I watched the game, Gyökeres was doing absolutely nothing. He was pretty
Yeah.
poor. Didn't have many touches. And I literally put in a group chat, I said, yeah, I'm not rating Gyökeres, you know. I think he might be a transfer out. And then 10 minutes later, that's when he scored. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the
Always
thing as
the way,
well.
isn't it?
With Gyökeres, today he had a really good return because obviously he was on penalties because of the fact that Saka was subbed off. So I'm not sure what would happen to the regular penalty taker of Arsenal once Saka returns, because obviously he was the designated penalty taker last season. But with Gyökeres, you know that he has a brilliant penalty record. So who knows? They might rotate between Saka and Gyökeres, or they just might have Gyökeres to be the penalty taker. I think it just kind of reminds me of that scenario which had developed between Bruno and Cristiano when they were both playing for United, and Bruno was the main penalty taker in the 2020 season, and then 2021 it was Ronaldo who was in the team, but then I think it was the game against Villa at Old Trafford where people were expecting that Ronaldo would take the penalty, but then Bruno, being the main penalty taker for the team, he ended up taking it, and then he skied the penalty and he was mocked for it for a very long time. I think Martinez mocked him at the very minute because that's what Martinez does. And yeah, so I think really interesting about what happens with the Arsenal situation. And that was also another reason why when I went for my striker choices, I never considered Ekitike, and it was only because of the minutes, because I knew that if he would play, he would score, because not everyone's like Darwin Nunez who would, get balls put in front of them and still would,
Mm.
miraculously fail to score. I think, that's something that Semenyo did today, which is like a different story altogether. But those are some of the chances which, any half decent striker in the Premier League would end up taking. So Ekitike would benefit from the amazing chance creation that the Liverpool midfielders and even the defenders would be. So if he's in the right place at the right time, chances are very high that um, he'll just end up having a very high XG. And typically, just if it's a good striker, they would still overperform their XG, like something that Chris Wood does, and he's very efficient at it. So yeah, so that was another option, but then just not sure about the minutes, not sure about the Isak situation, so I completely avoided that scenario. So obviously, since I took Holland, I was really budget constrained. I think I had 9.5 remaining for the other two strikers, so I had to go for a 5 million striker and a 4.5. For 4.5, obviously, I think everyone went for Mark Gue, whoever was budget constrained. But for the 5 million striker, that's the part where I think I made like a little blunder or mistake, because I was hoping Patrick Bamford would start, so I kept him in the team, but I was not sure about the Leeds news. And now it seems it would have been better to have had either Piro or Nemecha. So I think I'm still kind of stuck with Bamford. He's still in my bench. I will get him out at some point when I have like enough free transfers, or maybe something like a wild card at some point. I did hold back on the wild card because I went for a -4 in game week 2. But obviously, since we
oh,
are speaking about game week 1 right now,
Yeah.
I think we'll just stick to that. So that kind of concludes my game week 1 team. And I ended up getting 73 points because I bench boosted, but also not because I bench boosted, because, bench boost just gave me 2 points just because of the fact that Bamford got no minutes, Tosin got no minutes, Mark Gue got no minutes. So I have three outfield players with 0 minutes, and Dubravka ended up getting just 2 points. So I would say it's a bench boost utterly wasted by me. I should not have panicked and gone for bench boost in the hindsight. Yeah, but then the deadline was, I think, 6:30 p.m. and this was a decision that I made between 6:24 and 6:28. So yeah, that's what happens when you leave it till the very end, I suppose. Also, it being a Friday and like a working day. So yeah, I think I'll try and make more well thought out decisions from here on. So I hope the -4 is like a little penalty that I'm having to pay for that, and also like a lost bench boost chip.
Yeah, it doesn't get
So
you that many points though. Generally, like the bench boost, it's just
yeah,
a little bonus really, because
Yeah.
most people's benches aren't great.
very true.
Yeah, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. I mean, my
Yeah,
bench boost, I was going to bench boost Game Week 1, but then injuries really scuppered my plans.
I
So
did
in
see
the
many
end,
people triple captain Salah, but then that did not, pay off great, because I think I ended up getting like 87 points or something in a double game week last year because of Salah, like 29 times 3. So that was great. Yeah, so Mark can go through his game week 1 team now.
Well, first off, can you all hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Fantastic. So you got no buzzing noise or, nothing in the
Not at the
background.
minute, no. No.
No, no buzzing
Um,
anymore.
Right, so I'll try and go through the best I can. So first game week I got was, I would say, an average on 50 points. Um, I think what's let me down, especially this game week and probably last game week, was picking Ollie Watkins and Jared Bowen for my first game week, because I think, I tried to do my research. I tried to go on all these all these YouTubers who do fantasy football. And I don't know if you guys were aware, they were saying that Ollie Watkins had a brilliant pre-season. I think he scored, was it something like 5 goals and 5? So I thought, well, I can't go against a player that's in form. And then obviously when I see all the other YouTubers picking him, I thought you just don't want to miss that opportunity. So I went for Ollie Watkins, and then Jared Bowen. I obviously that first game for West Ham against, was it Burnley? I thought, oh, surely West Ham are going to absolutely smash them. No, sorry, Sunderland. Sorry,
Yeah.
so I'm getting confused. So I thought, and then obviously I think I heard people saying, and I also saw, I think my other no, West Ham defender, was it? I think a lot of people put Duif, was it? Duif, if I
Yeah,
pronounce it
I
right.
heard you.
Yeah, Diouf.
I went for Wan Bazaka because obviously he knows he's been, he's played in the Premier League. Joyce is just a bit of an unknown certainty, but unfortunately, obviously West Ham didn't do awful. Didn't do great, to be honest. I'm just trying to go back to, and obviously, I don't know if you guys use there's an app that I use that's quite helpful. It's called the Fantasy Football Hub.
Yeah, I think they give like AI percentage, like how strong your team is, I think.
That's it. And basically, if you sign up and you don't win your mini league, they basically give you money back. So I thought, I did it last season, and obviously it's helped me a lot, to be honest. But yeah, just going back to game week 1, so I'm just trying to set my team up. Um, I think the other player that disappointed me, and a lot of people were advising me to do it, was that Everton midfield. Is it Ndiaye? Is
Yeah,
that how
Iliman
you
and
pronounce?
yeah.
They was, at the back of the end of last season, he was on penalties for Everton. And I was thinking, oh, who was Everton's first game? First game
Leeds
week.
away.
So Leeds, and I thought, oh, that should be a decent game for Everton to get into. So that he disappointed me really. So I'm hoping next game week, I think Everton are at home to Brighton. So um, I would say I would say, because everyone else I think is in the same position as I am. Um, so first game week, 50 points, I would say it's okay. I think the one thing I'm regretting at the moment is not having João Pedro in. Because I originally had him in my draft, but the problem I think I had was, and I was listening to other YouTubers, is because Chelsea signed Leon Delap, I was
Yeah.
thinking, well, who's going to get more minutes? Who's
Mm.
going to play? Who's going to play more? So I really, I thought, oh, I did, I just didn't trust, I should have gone with everybody else, because his percentage was what, over 40-50%.
It was, yeah, it's well over 50 actually. I think it's like 55. I think it ended
Yeah,
on.
yeah, something
Yeah,
like that.
So I'm kind of regretting not having him in my team now. So I may have to. obviously this, I mean, if going on to, obviously the second game week, it's been again pretty poor. I mean, I thought Aston Villa would beat Brentford, but obviously they lost. And then obviously again, Sunderland were, West Ham were poor again. So it's not looking great, but I've got a bit of a saving grace really because I thought Man City would absolutely score against Tottenham. So I had Van de Ven on my bench, but thankfully because Cole Palmer was obviously didn't play, Mickey Van de Ven is my first sub. So that's a bit of a saving grace. But at the moment, I've only got 13 points so far, so it's not ideal. Um, and I'm just debating. I think I said it in the other group chat that maybe it's a bit too early. I don't know what you guys think, but I'm thinking of possibly wildcarding to try and get some of these players that are in form. But I don't know if it's too early to do that because obviously we're only this is only the second game week, and I want to see who's the informed players, before wildcarding.
I've done it. I've literally pressed the wild card button already, and my team already looks a lot better. But I'm hoping I don't regret it later on. But I think next episode, we'll discuss my wild card because I'm sure it's going to change throughout the next week or so.
So is it active now? Is it
active now? Yeah, I pressed the button, and I actually caught the Haaland price rise as well. So I managed to get him at 14. Now he's 14.1, which I wouldn't have been able to get him if I waited. So that was the risk that probably worth taking at that point. Because the wild card was the only way I was getting Haaland in without taking humongous hits. So
I think it depends how long Cole Palmer's going to be out. I think by what I hear, it's probably only precautionary. When he pulled out of training, would you say?
Yeah, but I don't want him anyway. To be honest, I don't think he's carried on his poor form from last season. Even though he did well in the Club World Cup, he's not really hitting the standards he can hit at the moment. So yeah, I might come back to him later on, but at the moment I'm taking him out.
Pedro Neto might be a good shot in midfield. Just thinking about Chelsea.
Yeah.
Pedro Neto.
What I would say is me and Mark discussed this the other day. I mean, Palmer was meant to play right wing yesterday, and I think he would have actually done quite well in that position. I think with him, some of it is positionally. He seems to struggle when Maresca's playing him in certain positions, more to the left. So I do think Palmer's a really tricky asset, and to judge. And I think for that price, on a wild card, I probably wouldn't go there. I probably would go Pedro instead, personally. But I understand there's that doubt about Pedro. But I just think that Pedro is class. He is class, and like we saw yesterday, he still managed to play with Delap as well, and that's made me think his minutes won't be as bad as we expect. And he's in such great form. I think I like the look of Pedro. I do for that price.
He's
I think
cheap.
It's more tempting than Palmer.
He is. Well, he's not cheap. He's very affordable. It's probably by far the best option around that price range. Even like higher price ranges than 7.5 is still better. I think he might go up if he hauled game week 2. He would have definitely risen in price tonight. Even he might just stay though where he is at the moment. Might be the way to get him in.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say maybe, because I think I'm going to get Pedro in, but if I was on a wild card, I guess there would be a temptation to look at Ekitike playing Burnley soon. I mean, he's good. Chris Wood's good. He's got some good fixtures. And then, maybe you go Haaland. So maybe it's just a case where you might want to go for Palmer only purely because there's quite a few striker options, but I would probably go Pedro. But there is quite a few striker options. There is quite a few this year.
I think I will probably get Pedro in because the more people that are owning him, I can't afford to, is to fall behind everyone. So I think, who have Chelsea got next fixture? Does anyone know? Or who they're
Fulham at home, is it?
Yeah, I
Fulham
think
at
it's Fulham at home. Yeah.
So for me, I think Joel Pedro will definitely be in my thoughts for next weekend because I can't afford to slip behind everyone. So I think I will probably, at this moment in time, I think I will probably take out Jared Bowen and
Yeah.
put in Joel Pedro
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be my move. And the thing is, as well, if Palmer is out, I think Pedro's. I don't think it's even as much of a debate because then he'd be on penalties most likely. I know Delap has taken penalties for Ipswich, but I think Pedro on penalties as well would just be too tempting at that price.
Yeah.
I was going to say as well, guys, because you were saying there, Alex. I think I wouldn't put Ekate, I can't pronounce his name right. I wouldn't put him into obviously what the situation is with Isaac. Can they both play together? But what I hear that they both play in the same positions. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think
hmm.
talk about Ekatike possibly he could possibly play out wide if they signed Isaac.
I think it would
There
be
is
the
that
other way around.
uncertainty. Huh?
I think it might be the other way around. They're saying that Isak would
Yeah,
play on the
that's not.
left. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at like last year, I think it was Isaac did a brilliant assist out wide, and he quite
Against
often
Everton.
drifts out wide.
Yeah.
So I just think at the moment we've got to be careful we don't overthink too much because only because of that Burnley fixture, like in game week 4, I
Yeah.
think at the moment Katike seems to be the kind of main man.
Yeah, and I
Dare I
think the
say it?
Isak transfer won't happen as well. Just because after the statement he released, it seems more and more unlikely that Newcastle are going to let him go to Liverpool. I think they would have had he kept quiet, but then he put up that story on Instagram this week, and then Newcastle reacted by it's just not even Newcastle. I think it's just posts by Fabrizio saying that it's Newcastle's intention not to let Isak go anywhere at the moment after that post. So I think yeah, it's just hard because I also have Isak in my draft team, so he's like
Oh, right.
yeah,
That's interesting.
yeah, and I
Yeah,
was really happy
I
when I
think
had Isak. Yeah,
I think
the only
he will go to Liverpool. I just think it depends if Newcastle want the asking price, and I think he will go. I think Liverpool just have to stump up the money for it.
No, I disagree with that. I've heard that argument so many times. The
Right.
reason is because our Newcastle can't buy anyone. They literally can't sell him because they don't have another striker on the books.
Wissa.
Yeah, but Wissa's not a Newcastle yet, and that's
Yeah.
that's replacing for Callum Wilson.
Yeah.
So that's otherwise he would have already been a Liverpool player. That's because Liverpool bid 110. That was a starting bid. They would have bid up to 130 probably. I'd say probably would have
Yeah,
ended up around
I
that
think they
figure.
want 150 right now.
You meet in the middle, don't you? It's
Yeah.
that's negotiation.
Yeah, and on that topic as well, it's interesting because the talk is that Newcastle want 2 players, 2 strikers to replace Isak, and it's interesting because we mentioned him earlier, Larson from Wolves. He's been heavily linked. To Newcastle.
I still
as
feel
well.
he's like very, very average striker, which is again why I never went for him, although he was like
I'm
reasonably priced. Yeah.
Who's this?
Larson from
Larson.
Wolves.
Fran Larson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's very average. He even missed like a few sitters today as well against Bournemouth, I suppose, like a free header.
Yeah. There's 3 players who've been linked to Newcastle strikers. One is Larson, one is Wither, and one is Nick Jackson. And out of those 3, I think Wither's a good signing. The other 2 are risky, I think.
I think Jackson seems quite likely at the minute based on what I was reading yesterday. But then, these things just keep on changing every single day. But at the moment, I think like Jackson seems to be the likeliest Newcastle striker. I think, yeah, it's the likeliest striker that Newcastle is going to buy. I still feel there are like quite a few interesting players. So, yeah, I think we can continue with Mark and his Game Week 1 team, the rest of it.
Oh right, okay, yeah. So let's just go for it. The best thing to do is I'll go through my starting 11. I went with Sanchez in goal, which I think I was quite pleased I did. I was very tempted to go with was it Brentford's is it Kelleher?
Yeah.
Because he was the cheapest and basically everyone was having him in. But then I saw everyone else put Sanchez in, and everyone was debating about their fixtures, and I thought, oh, who should I go for in the end? So I went with basically I went with the crowd and thought, right, I'll go with Sanchez, and thankfully I think he was it Chelsea's first game was 0-0 to Palace, so that worked out pretty well.
Well, for a while, since we are on the goalkeepers, I was wondering if I should go for Petrovic from Bournemouth because uh, he's also starting goalkeeper, 4.5. I think he's a great shot stopper and he's also a great penalty saver. So, you just might get extra points when you're not expecting it. And
Yeah.
I don't think he's prone to price drops at the minute because if there are people going for Kelleher and if they sell him off, then Kelleher is like riskier when it comes to price drops. But then, Petrovic would still be pretty nailed at 4.5 and he'd just be like a very good goalkeeping option to go with, just looking at the season ahead. Yeah.
I think that's a good shout. I think without looking at Bournemouth's fixtures, but I think they're quite, unless I'm wrong, I think their next couple of fixtures seem to be quite nice. So I don't think that's a bad shout, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they also
we've
Wolves
got
today.
we've got Tottenham away. Sorry, yeah, we've got Tottenham away next, but in general, after Tottenham away, they're not bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I'm just
but
having a
then
look now. So you've got Brighton, obviously Newcastle will be a bit tricky at home, and then you've got Leeds,
now the
Fulham, and
thing about
Crystal Palace.
Spurs, I think Bournemouth play really well against Spurs for some reason. Because I remember like last season's game at Vitality, I think Bournemouth could have scored like 15 goals or something, the number of chances they created. But then,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I think attacking wise, I think players like Semenyo will. I think he'll thrive in a game like that. I think against bigger teams, there's a lot of space. You saw how he did against Liverpool. So
yeah.
attacking wise, yeah, I do wonder if it will end up being quite an open game though. I'm not sure we'll keep a clean sheet against Spurs.
He did play quite well today as well. He would have, he obviously got the assist, but he would have had a goal as well. He just missed the open goal, so there's nothing much you can do about that. So
But no
potentially, it's like,
disrespect to.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry, I was just going to say, guys. I think without dampening the victory for Bournemouth, I think Wolves are going to be that team that are going to be, unfortunately, down there. So and obviously they've lost Cunha, who's gone to Man United. So
Mm.
I think I don't know about you guys, but Strand Larson, I think, is the only goal threat Wolves has. I mean, they've lost Ain't Nori as well. Their wing back to Man City. So
Yeah,
it's I mean, great win for Bournemouth. Don't get me wrong, guys, but I just obviously I don't know if that's the best game to judge on Bournemouth keeping more clean sheets. I think you're right, Alex. I think
because
yeah,
I
I
think,
agree.
yeah,
I definitely agree. I mean, I think Petrovic could be a good option. 4.5
yeah,
is a good price for a nailed goalkeeper in a team which I don't think we're bad. I don't think we're that bad defensively. I think with the way we play, we can get some clean sheets. But how many? We'll see. I mean, like Diakite and Senesi, that's a centre back partnership, and they've only had 2 games together. But at the moment, it seems all right. But we'll see. I think it would be a good. Yeah, I think it's a wait and see. I think it's a wait
Bournemouth are
and see
lucky
with us.
because yeah, they've been the only team that has faced like the strongest as well as the weakest team in the league, based on my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
I think Bournemouth have
Yeah.
done. I think we're probably. I think it was. I don't know if it was you, Alex, that said. I think we put too much attention on their defence. And fair play to Bournemouth, they've kept a lot of their attacking players. So I think scoring goals is not going to be a problem for Bournemouth. It's probably just on how many they concede. Is probably my worry, but I think, I mean, Semenyo, I think is a very good shout. Because have you got him in as? I think you've put him in, haven't you, Taranga? So,
Yeah, I've just put him in for my second game week. Yes,
mm,
he was not there. Sorry.
sorry, did he get an assist today in the
Yeah, he
game?
did.
Yeah.
I think he ended up getting 6 points. I've not seen the bonuses yet, but then yeah, I was checking on the FPL app and it showed 6 points. So I think I'm happy with the return, and also happy with the potential he has because obviously he's not a new player. He's a proven Premier League player, and
Mm,
with some of the other attackers gone, I think he is more of a potent threat. He's more of Bournemouth's outlet
mm,
for this season. Also, Evan Nilsson has not really hit the ground running this season yet. So I think the way I see it, Semenyo is more of a main man than last season. And I was also kind of motivated by his interview where he said that he would score way like many more goals than last season. And I thought that perhaps there's an area of his game that he has identified and potentially uh, has improved in the preseason. So if players do that, usually because I think an issue with Bournemouth last year was that they were creating loads of chances but not finishing them. So if there's some work that has been done on that aspect, I think it just might be good because Semenyo was pretty good last season, and if we get like a better version of Semenyo, I really don't, mind. Although I would have been happy had he been priced like 6.5 or something. Seven still seems a bit expensive, but then, you know, for me, if I compare it with someone like Words, I think the Semenyo thing does make a lot of sense. Yeah.
I'm gonna just. I want to talk about obviously my team, Man United, and I don't know what you guys think, but I'm quite tempted because at the moment I've got Bruno Fernandes in, and I just think if tomorrow if Kuna and Burma do well tomorrow, I'll be tempted to basically swap them over because I think
Yeah.
Bruno Fernandes is I think he's
Nine.
9 million. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah.
And I think Kuna
And then we're more eight. Yeah.
they're about 8. So if they start attacking wise, I think it will come. I think once they get their attacking returns, I'll be
Mm.
quite tempted to possibly swap Fernandez over for one of those two.
Mm-hmm.
But the other player as well, I think I've heard people talk about is our left wing back Dorgu.
I got him in my wild card. I put him in. I
Oh,
put him
have
in.
you?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
I personally feel that his performance was quite overrated last game week.
Mm,
There
Mm.
were some players who were underrated. I felt like people did speak a lot about. I mean, we all watched the game. I think some of us we just watched the game together, and uh, well, he did have that one shot where he hit the post. I felt like a few of his crosses were quite astray. He did not uh, nail any cross for it to be like a big enough
Mm.
chance. Not that I can remember him having a direct cross. And also, the United defense is always prone to conceding at least one
mm.
goal. So I don't feel
Mm.
like his clean sheet odds are really very high. So if he's coming for 4.5, I do feel that across the league there are better options for 4.5.
Yeah. I would say is I think quite a lot of the hype of Dorgu came before the game. Obviously, hitting the post did help the hype, but there's been some tactical analysis that people say, well, the way Garnacho played didn't always suit Dorgu.
Yeah,
But Garnacho's not on the team. He's got basically more license to go forward and have a bit more space.
right. So it's more about the underlap and the overlap thing where,
Yeah.
if Toby
It's
goes
the
on
attacking returns more than defense. Man United defense is not amazing. It's more the potential attacking returns, I think, for Dorgu.
Yeah,
yeah,
because and I agree with that because Man United haven't really made any defensive transfers, have they? Really? So in theory, I mean, some people say the best way of defending is attacking, but
Diego
you
Leon
know,
potentially, but he's not like a main starter.
yeah,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Actually, Joe thought a goalkeeper. Actually, aren't you signing a goalkeeper? A Belgian keeper from Antwerp.
Lemons.
Can't remember his name. Lemons.
Oh God, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, it's Lemons. Sen
Yeah.
Lemons. Sene Lemons. Yeah.
I mean, I'm quite surprised because I don't know what's happened with Donnarumma, but I would have just gone for him straight
Yeah,
away.
his wages are really high.
Yeah,
and
wages.
I'm not,
Right.
not willing to pay the wages. And that was also the reason why PSG let him go, because his wage demands were really high. So I think Man City will definitely go for him, because if you watch today's game, I think
Trafford.
James
Oh, here,
Trafford
here.
was he was the leakiest Trafford in Manchester. So I mean, yeah, the kind of experience how his performance was. So yeah, I think he had a shocker, and if Man City want to challenge for the title, they definitely need someone like Donnarumma, because uh, I don't think Ederson will start, although there are calls for Pep to start Ederson from the next game onwards. But yeah, that's the thing. I think James Trafford is like one of City's own, and then he goes to Burnley and they buy him back, and then there's this thing of the fans wanting him, because with City there's always this criticism is that they're not a team that have gone up by fielding homegrown players. They bought their way up in the league, and then they started fielding some of the homegrown players, like perhaps Phil Foden, maybe even Oscar Bob is in a way homegrown. Also, recently Trafford, he went to Burnley. I'm not sure how well he performed, because the season he was in the Premier League he was pretty bad, and I was kind of expecting the same to happen when he'd be playing for City, also because of the expected pressure to win every single game you play, which is like, yeah, it's not for everyone. But if they do get Donnarumma, that will be great for them. And obviously, City, despite 115,000 charges, they can um, afford to pay 400K per week contracts to 5 different players, and that's how it is, unfortunately. But yeah, I think it seems like Donnarumma will probably be a deadline buy for Man City. I don't see that happening before deadline, just the way things are going. Just I think negotiations and wages. But I think like Lemons, once he signs for United, that might kind of trigger a goalkeeping domino, which I also think Diogo Costa is involved, because uh, Galatasaray, they also need a goalkeeper, and I think they're in a dilemma whether to go for Diogo Costa or Ederson. So I think once that situation becomes more clear, we'll get to know more about if Ederson stays, if he leaves. Obviously, if Ederson leaves, only at that point would Donnarumma make the move to the Premier League, because obviously he's held his farewell at PSG, and there's no way he's playing there because they'll play Chevalier. So yeah, that's how the situation is.
Yeah, I think everyone was hoping for Trafford to do well because he was only 5 mil, and that would have been like to get a goalkeeper at Man City would have been a real gem
Yeah,
on that.
I don't think he'd start. I think Ortega is a better goalkeeper than Trafford, to be very honest.
Yeah. Well, I'm just looking at time, everyone. I think we should
Yeah.
cut it off here for this episode. We've got so much more to discuss, and we
Yeah.
discussed game week 2 and also my wild card, which is interesting and very different to the way I usually play. So I'd be keen to share that and my thoughts on the disastrous game week 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks everyone. It's been a really good chat.
That was
Yeah,
great.
really.
Yeah. And
Great
we
stuff.
can discuss in the group and have another chat really soon.
Absolutely. Cheers all.
All right.
Okay. Cheers.
luck.
Speak to you soon,
Bye.
guys.